Hello everybody, my name is Aaron Vibi Abraham. My EDX username is AaronVibi23. My GitHub username is AaronVAbraham3RGB. I'm recording this video on the 29th of July 2026. My topic is on the XZ Utils backdoor. The CVE is 2024-3094 and the incident happened on March 2024. I chose this topic because it's a real life cybersecurity incident that shows how dangerous a supply chain attack can really get. It also interconnects and just weaves deeply and directly into exactly what we studied in CS50 cybersecurity, especially in the lecture called Securing Software and Systems. So I chose this topic because of the fact that it is a recent real world attack, like I said before. And I really wanted to understand how a trusted open source tool could really become a serious security risk when it's handled by malicious intent. And what makes this case especially interesting is the fact that the attack did not start with a normal user mistake. Instead, it really quite the opposite. It started much deeper in the software supply chain, inside the supply chain. And this relates a lot to the course because the main foundation of CS50 cybersecurity in the lectures was on how the systems fail, how malicious users or attackers can take advantage of the weaknesses, and how we can completely reduce the risk of such a big breach and like uh, intent against security. So this incident is a strong example of why security has to include software infrastructure and trust to work. So what actually is the XZ Utils is a compression tool used in many Linux systems, and most people never interact with it directly because it usually does work in the background of the software. Even though it's not a very well-known application, it still matters a lot because of the fact that many other programs widely depend on it. One of the most important parts of the XZ is the fact that it is one of the libraries used for compression and decompression. And that really matters because if a low level library is very well compromised, it can also affect other software that relies on it heavily. And in this specific incident or case, the impact went really far beyond just that one package. It completely compromised the whole data set. So what happened? A backdoor was found in XZ Utils. So that means the date was in March 2024, and malicious code was actually found inside the software, which were versions 5.6.0 and 5.6.1. This means that it was a supply chain compromise. This also means that the software itself was tampered with before the users installed it. That makes it especially dangerous because people normally trust software that comes from an official source, and the backdoor wasn't that obvious at first. It was hidden carefully, and it really helped it to avoid detection for a while. And when a security researcher discovered this suspicious behavior that was going on with the files and software, it led to a complete public issue and disclosure. So how does the attack actually work? The malicious code was built into the software's build process, which which in some cases made the attack much more stealthy and hard to find. It targeted it, and in some environments, it could interfere with SSHD authentication through system services. That means the attack could potentially allow unauthorized, which are people that don't have access to a system, but they give them the access. So it makes it especially alarming the fact that it wasn't just like a normal bug, like the run of the mill bug. It was intentionally designed to behave like a hidden backdoor. So instead of crashing the software or showing obvious errors that um that the developers could like find and easily track and actually like get rid of it, it tried to stay quiet and blend in, which was not really seen before. And what were the impacts and responses? So the affected versions were mainly seen in some Linux distributions, especially testing and newer releases. So this means that once the issue was discovered, the security teams moved quickly to warn other users and to tell them to check their installed versions for the bug. In many cases, the advice was to downgrade to the previous version that wasn't compromised, or to completely replace the whole entire package right as soon as possible, ASAP, right? And the fast response of this really helped prevent a much wider damage like it could have been. But even though the impact was very limited, the incident still really showed how serious a supply chain attack can be, like I said before. It also showed why verifying software, like we learned in CS50 cybersecurity, is so important before actually trusting that software. So the biggest lesson from this incident that we should all learn is to not trust software only because it comes from a well-known project or maintainer. This specific one came from one of the biggest in the world at the time, and people really trusted it, and it caused mass destruction. So, so we should learn that not only we should not trust software because it comes from a well-known company. The supply chain security is just as important for protecting individual devices. If software people or people who learn software depend on is compromised, then the whole system becomes completely weak. And another lesson is that monitoring, verification, and careful update practices really do matter in a system. And hidden threats like this specific incident can exist in widely used open source software. Overall, this incident is a reminder that cybersecurity is not only about stopping the attacks at the front door, it's also about protecting the whole ecosystem behind the software that we use every single day. So it's not just getting rid of it temporarily, but getting rid of it forever for until the software runs.